Welcome to the Zandbergen Report, where wealth strategies and investment wisdom collide, featuring your distinguished host and certified financial planner, Bart Zandbergen.
Welcome to the Zandbergen Report, a showcase for wealth strategies and investment wisdom that's essential for our evolving world. I'm Bart Zandbergen, your host today, and very happy to have with me today my trusted partner, co-host, and financial advisor extraordinaire, Letitia Birbaum.
Hello.
Letitia, thanks for coming to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Paul, how are you today?
I just marvel at what goes on as we get ready for the show here. She's fluffing her hair. She's moving the mic. She's been here for 15 minutes. So she's going, I got to move the mic over. I better put my shirt, my jacket on, all this stuff, And somehow she kind of settles in. She's ready to go here. Well, she comes racing in, and then she takes a while to...
Well, this is my first experience to watch her race across a busy street with 2 coffees in her hand.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're really good coffee, by the way.
Which is it. So today she got here early, and I thought we'd be all relaxed and stuff, but she's still kind of just, getting in the groove here today.
In the groove. All right.
It's going to be a great show.
We're in the groove. Here we go.
Yeah.
So, Paul, our subject today is, where is your financial emergency kit?
What a hot topic.
We thought with, as we think of our clientele and how we get them prepared for their times of emergency, if you will, financially, it would be great to share some of the things that we talk about.
Don't most people not plan for emergencies? They assume, some people are smart. My dad and my generation always had money set aside, enough to survive for 6 months if something happened. Or we live in a world where we just assume something else will happen to fix it.
Yeah, so to answer your question, we would say that most people do not plan for an emergency. And you know what they say about planning, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Okay, so Letitia, let's share, if you will, now we're talking about, although these are financial things, let's talk less about financial vehicles and tools and more about just things that happen.
Okay.
Right. So what would you say someone would need in the way of a financial emergency? Some of the highlights that we like to talk about.
Well, if you bring it down to the very, very basics, I see the most important thing is, okay, if something were to happen, we live in Southern California, and we have fires frequently, or we're always on alert for in case of an earthquake. And so there's the little emergencies like that, and then there's the emergencies that there's a tragic accident that people have to handle. And so there's a couple different levels that we tell people they need to review and prepare for. So I would say at the very, very least, my favorite thing to do is have backup information of all of the things that are most important to you. So if I were to say, we've talked about it a number of times here on the show, but we use a program that we help our clients analyze all of their accounts and credit cards and their whole everything that financially big picture. And so, that could be including everything with their mortgage accounts that are connected, their bank accounts are connected. They can put their passports on there, the copy of their driver's license. So we get granular there and try to be able to make sure that we have everything in case of an emergency, and people can put a copy of their tax returns. So I would say at the very least have a secure place electronically. Yeah. I always like to say have let's say like a USB backup of that same data and have that somewhere as well. And then you would think that I'm the oldest person in the room when it comes to this kind of stuff, because I love paper, and I always have a physical binder. So in case of an emergency, my husband and I both know that we pick up 2 binders. It's the emergency binder and our trust. And so literally those are all the instructions for everyone. And also it has a copy of all of my utility bills. So in case I don't know, everything's automatic. I don't know the username or the password or the account number. Everything is all there, and a copy of it is all there. Bart's shaking his head now.
You're a millennial. I am so much more automated.
He thinks that I'm okay, but I have it electronically as well. But something about it just makes me feel really secure of knowing that I have one-stop shop. If I have to just grab something and internet's down and I need the access to cash, I've got it. I have access to everything, and I just go pick it up, and I have a box of things that I need, and off I go.
So for those of people who were around after the turn of the century, the year 2000, so the service that you were talking about that we provide as part of our OptiWealth is it's the vault, right? So the vault is where I'm keeping everything, my tax returns, trust, so I don't have to pick a binder of my trust as I'm running out the door.
In the vault too.
It's in the vault. But what I just did recently, and I thought this was a really good recommendation because I've been doing some traveling, is notarized copies of mine and my family's passport.
Yep.
So in the event that it's stolen, which almost happened to me one of our trips,
oh, no.
It's there, and it'll make it easier to get back. I think,
Great.
Paul, you got...
Can I give you another short one that never occurs to you until it's too late?
Yeah.
Now, my aunt passed away recently at 94. She didn't have a lot of social media presence, but I was reminded again,
Sorry.
if something happened to me, even if I just got sick or was in a coma or something for
Yep.
a while or whatever, my wife doesn't know how to get into all my she doesn't have
Password
all my
list.
passwords.
Yeah.
Yep. It's in the binder.
I don't even know if she has a key to this office or whatever. I mean, it's all there at the house somewhere. I never think to show
Yep.
anybody where any of this stuff is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, you know what? Here's what I'm going to offer for you. If you would give me your social media logins and passwords, I'm happy to take care of those for you. And I promise not
Should
to.
I give them out over the air here for
Yeah,
everybody?
yeah, I mean,
No, but you can put them under the vault. And what actually is really interesting that we share with our clients. So say, for example, you have a family member that say like a husband. This is very common, by the way. A husband or spouse. One person is the person who pays all the bills. And the other person knows that everything's taken care of. And this happens a lot, actually. And
Yeah,
then at the end of the day, the biggest worry that we see clients have is, okay, well, what happens in case something happens to me? That I don't know how to log in. I don't know what's going on with the accounts. I don't even know where to go. So this is a fantastic tool, not to be pushing what we do, but in having an organized system that people know where to go, how to access it. It's so important.
I don't want to be negative,
you know
but
where it's
one of my best friends and my childhood friend died, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago here of a heart attack.
Sorry.
You know, I'm getting to be that age here. You know, I'm talking about people leaving. And his wife was one of those. She was a stay-at-home mom, and he made a bunch of money. And she didn't have a clue even where the bank was, much less how. And he had multiple accounts for whatever reason, and he had stuff all over the place. He still has, to this day, social media accounts that still exist because nobody knows how to shut them down.
Right.
So Letitia's right. We have not a majority, but we have a handful of our clients that where in this case it was the male spouse was like, hey, I've got a lot of this stuff handled. He says, but I want to hire you because as a couple, we need someone that she can go to once I'm gone to continue what I am doing, and that she knows how to get to things. So.
Or just sick.
exist.
Let's say you were sick and you couldn't handle something. You know, how would somebody carry on? How would anybody contact all my clients and say, "Hey, Paul's in the hospital" or something? I don't know.
Exactly. And then also to add to that, I feel like it's really important for people to know ahead of time. I've talked about this several times in other shows that having people have a plan ahead of time and your family knows what's important to you and know in case of emergency that way it's all laid out. So you actually, other people are able to carry out your wishes. They can do that as long as they know where to find it or what that actually is. And I do have a shout out for an attorney that we work with, and she is amazing. And I have to say, here's me being a millennial, I have it listed in my trust who will own the rights for my social media.
Wow.
Oh
Wow.
my God.
So there you go. That's me going back to being a millennial.
Is it
So
me, by
did-
the way? Is it me?
No.
And you have to explain that. So what is it that somebody would own? The pictures or something in there? Or
The domains, the actual names, the whole 9 yards to be able to run it going forward.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got to do that.
Yeah. The whole thing.
Can I ask you another one you made me think of here? All
Yeah.
right, so let's say we talked about death and dying and those disastrous things. What if it's just a natural disaster? We have an earthquake tomorrow. The big one finally comes in Orange County here.
Yeah.
We have always talked about we have 1 million people come to the station. Do you have enough water to last so long? Do you know where to shut off the gas? Do you know how to where everybody should congregate if the cell phone towers all go down? That kind of stuff.
Okay, so you should be asking me these questions because this is the conversation that Bart and I have already planned for today's show.
Go.
So this is fantastic. You're literally on point, and that is what it is. So again, Bart's going to make fun of me. So I have this is a pretty common this is a pretty common conversation here. I say something, he laughs at me like really, really. But I'm
not laughing. You're making sense to me.
I know. Okay, so I have 2 young children, ages 4 and 5, and my husband and I both work a lot, and we've had nannies and people watching our children from being young. And something that we have is I have a map of the neighborhood, and I have it circled for emergency. Emergency.
Who does this, Bart? Who does this?
She takes it to a whole new
Just a map. Okay, but it does. It has my kids' names and birthdays and doctor's contact information.
And weight, right?
And weight and height. Because, if they ever had to have medicine, they would need that to be able to make sure they weren't.
Yeah.
Because, Paul, they don't have scales at hospitals. just so you know, they ran out of scales.
They need to know. I don't know. Whatever. Well, yeah. All I have to say is I want to be more prepared than not. And if you ever know me, I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to be overly prepared.
Do you have rendezvous points? Because one of the common things.
Yeah, at the park.
Let's say the cell phone. we all rely on cell phones. So a disaster happens. The cell phone towers are going to go down.
We have the park. Okay. The top of the hill of our house. And then we have a backup in case it's a major emergency and so we're by our kids' school. We'll all meet there.
Tina and I have a country. We do. We have a place in the country.
See?
We'll show up in...
He thought I was
I'm there,
crazy.
honey. I'm there.
They have an entire country. You're like, forget it. We're not meeting at the park. We're going to meet in a completely different country.
Meet me
which
in
is
Brazil.
Probably safer.
I'm kidding. It's Tahiti.
Meet me in Tahiti. But Tahiti's like a little more than...
Well, we got a spot. There's a
Okay,
spot
all
in
right.
Tahiti. Let's just, if anything happens, and
Go there.
Disaster, World War III.
Look for me there.
Yeah.
See? So I know you make fun of me, but at the end of the day, you're just planning for emergency. And like you said, if there is no plan, then that's just as bad.
All right, let me give you another hot one. We had somebody in a while ago, divorce.
Yeah.
And particularly in Orange County, there are, affluent people, men or women, and the spouse maybe doesn't have, they're not an economic equal or whatever you want to say it.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, this one guy came in and said, he was talking about men mostly, but it could be women nowadays too, where they decide, hey, I'm leaving, and they start making the plan, and you don't even know when they leave, the bank account's frozen, the safety deposit's been cleaned out, the bank, everything's gone and missing, and just...
We have great forensic attorneys we have contacts with, and we have a number of divorcee or recent divorcee clients, and we deal with this all the time. And Bart is specialized in that as well. So
he said every woman should have like a emergency credit card just in case something happened.
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Or men or whatever.
But we have a plan. We definitely can help them put that together.
You don't see this coming. I didn't see the divorce coming. I didn't see the earthquake coming. I didn't see death coming. I didn't see a disease coming.
Yeah, it's all part of the plan. Right. It's just, more than anything, it's just being aware of what's going on. And even if you're not the person that's actually paying the bills or checking on the accounts, at least if you are logging in and you know where to find it and you can check periodically, like let's say every 3 to 6 months, at least look and see what's going on. Just spot check. Okay, maybe if it's changed substantially, maybe you should kind of look around and see what's going on.
Well, you got lots of lists. What other ones? Death, divorce, financial meltdown. Country, got to leave the country.
You're so funny. Yeah, we've definitely hit some of the major elements. I would say making sure, we've talked about estate planning before, but making sure you have something in place, like at least a will or a trust, and then a place where people know where to find it. So if you have all these things, that's great. But then if you don't know where to find it, that's a problem. Something that I tell pretty much every single client, at the very least annually, is check the beneficiary statuses of all of your accounts. Because even if you're like, oh, it's at the bank, it's a while ago. Well, sometimes banks lose records and sometimes things change or they have a system update. Or maybe you forgot that you added your cousin Charlie that maybe you guys aren't friends with anymore.
Yeah,
you had a falling out and you want to change it. So it's something to at least look at and just to be aware of and have in order. And I can't tell you how many times people are like, yeah, I put together a trust, but then they never funded the trust.
That's
so
right.
there's a lot of little stories like that. Just at least spot check and make sure that it is set up the way your intentions
Can I
are.
give you another uncomfortable that I had to
Go
deal
ahead.
with years ago?
You're on it.
All right.
Go.
What happens if you both die? Airplane crash, car crash. Who takes care of the kids?
That's a great plan. I have that set up with our attorney, and we have people that that we trust and we care about a lot, that we feel like will take care of our children. But I feel like that's the hardest decision for parents.
Yeah, it was for us. And we had, and somebody said to me, "What happens if you?" I thought, I never thought of that, because literally they would go into foster care. Yeah,
they will. If you don't have a plan, they
Yeah.
take your kids away. Actually,
yeah. Your assumption is, well, my cousin, my brother, my
Right.
uncle, somebody. No, they don't have the
Right.
legal right to do that. Not unless
Correct.
it's resolved through the courts. That could take years.
So the trust is really a basic kind of a foundational document that most people should have,
especially in California.
especially in California.
Why do you say that?
Well, there's for a number of reasons. And first of all, what triggers it, and a lot of people think, well, I'm not wealthy enough, and or I don't make enough money, or I don't have kids. But the triggers are any one of these things: married, and or own a home, and or have kids, and or have a net worth over $70,000. So
70,000. Wow. Because
Yeah.
that, again, with the value in your houses today or whatever, that's probably a large
find a home in
percent.
Orange County
Yeah.
that's not $70,000.
Yeah.
well, the cutoff at 70,000, I might be off a few thousand.
150.
Is it? So I'm off quite a bit. Probate now is 150.
Yeah, 150.
So anyway, that was data as of about 10 years ago, apparently.
So
but-
explain what you're saying, because you lost me there.
Okay, so a net worth of 150,000 or more, and that is the cutoff for probate.
Right.
And probate is something that nobody wants to do because, should I die and anything over 150,000 without a trust, everything is subject to probate, and probate is a court system. It's a court. It's time, anywhere
Money,
from
long,
1
everything's-
to
yeah.
3 years. It's a cost, and something as simple as a living trust will avoid that. And often we get, well, I've got a will, I got this covered, and a will does not cover that. It has to be a living trust.
And just to add to that, because of if it's a husband and wife, you don't have to worry about that $150,000 probate. It's just right now with the new exclusions that are so high that it's really probably not as important to have all the details on that aspect, but it's really in case you guys, something happens to you guys both at the same time, or at least you're putting together the plan so that way you know in case one passes, you're still fulfilling the wishes for the other person.
So let's add a little bit more color to that, and that's exactly true. There is something called a marital exclusion. So, and to Letitia's point, the limits are quite high now when it comes to, now we're talking about beyond probate, now we're talking about estate tax.
Right.
And we have clients, well, although they're a small percentage of our country, probably a percent of 1% that now would pay estate tax, but for a married couple it would be $23 million, 11
Oh,
and a half, 11 and a
wow.
half.
Wow. You don't, the estate isn't taxed on anything up until over that?
Well, let me clarify. Let me back it up. So without a trust, it's 11 and a half per person. Okay. So
Right.
should I die, my estate, anything over $11.5 million would be taxed. Now, with a trust, my exclusion, my $11.5 million, would carry over to my wife if she survives me. So now if you add the two, there's the total amount that a couple can pass. So it's anything with the trust, anything over that amount. So to Letitia's point about probate, it also applies to estate tax in that everything, it's called the marital exclusion, everything will go to the spouse, and then upon the second spouse, depending on the total value of the estate, would it be taxed.
And I want to add another element, and I personally went through this, and I didn't even realize that this was even a concern really until it happened. So as far as bank accounts, as people get older and they're putting together.
Why are you looking at me when you say older? You just immediately turned around and looked at me here.
So if you have
It's okay.
family members that are helping you and you're trying to put things in place, and sometimes you put maybe your kids or a friend, someone else on your bank account with you as a joint owner or co-signer.
That's what my aunt did for me for the last few years, so I could write off expenses.
Exactly. So this is a great example. So you and your aunt are on an account together. So if something were to happen to your aunt passes, and she did,
Right.
automatically the accounts belong to you.
Yeah.
And they don't go to the beneficiaries that are listed on the account because you are still alive.
Co-owner, and
you were co-owner.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was pretty seamless and allowed me in in this moment of crisis now, there's
Yep.
a bill to be paid, things have to be done.
You have access to the accounts.
Yeah, exactly.
So the good thing is you have access to the accounts. The bad thing is if you wanted that money to go to someone else or to a trust.
Or if I wanted to go to Tahiti with Bart, I could have just ripped her off and taken the money and run here. Yeah.
Yeah, but hold on. I need to wait 1 second with your story. I need to make sure that the listeners understand how important this is. If you put another family member on that account with you to help you manage things, and if something happens to you, it goes to that other person that's still alive. And I don't know if everyone always understands that, but that's really important because at the end of the day, you need to know what the impact is. It's not going to go to the beneficiaries. It's going to go to the other person that owns the account.
And if we're getting really technical, it's considered a gift too, and you're using part of your gift exclusion. So
Right.
That's what I was going to say. What if it was a 10 million? She didn't have that much money, but what if she had $1 million in there or something, or 20 million or
Correct.
something?
It's a gift.
it would have been designated as a gift to you, and that would have gone against her 11.5 gift exclusion.
Yeah.
Wow, very complicated.
Yeah.
So here's, as we're coming down the last few minutes, one of the things that struck me as I face every one of these issues is what I bet strikes everybody. This is negative. I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to hear about bad. I'm living a happy, positive world. I don't want to ever think about people dying. Crisis is going to come. Earthquake's not going to happen. None of this is going to. I don't want to face it. I don't want to do it. My wife is that way. She just doesn't want to hear bad news.
Right.
Hard to get her to sit still and think through these things. What do you say to people dying?
So it's probably one of the biggest challenges in our practice when it comes to the planning. Everyone seems pretty excited about, hey, let's managing money. Hey, let's make sure I have a
me
great,
some money. We
great
got the right
retirement.
I'll hear that all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're practitioners, we're certified financial planners, and part of that is to cover all aspects of financial planning. And one very important component is the estate planning.
Yeah.
Now, we're not attorneys, we don't draft the trust, but we
Correct.
certainly will talk about the different options and what estate planning is. That is by far the most difficult and challenging, not conversation per se, but to actually get implementation.
Yeah.
Coupled with, part of what we do too, mostly when it's attached to estate planning, is life insurance. Some people need life insurance because, hey, either one, they don't have enough money for their survivor, or two, they have so much money that they're going to have an estate tax. When it comes to talking about mortality, super difficult.
Yeah. I bet just in my own life and my own circle of friends, it's something nobody, especially us baby boomers, we're the Peter Pan generation. We're never going to get older. We're never going to die. We don't want to hear about this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
My dad would try, and years ago, he passed away a number of years ago, and before he did, didn't have a lot of stuff, but he had enough that was worthwhile chronicling it. And he would force me to sit down and say, now here's the trust I've set up, and here's where the bank accounts are, and here's what I want the funeral to look like, and I'm like, Dad, I don't want to hear this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you knew.
I knew.
You knew.
And it really, when it came time, what a blessing,
Right.
So I know we're running short on time,
Yeah.
but one of the things that actually Letitia's been super helpful in our firm with her experience is running kind of the family meetings. So bringing the different generations and speaking to them about, it also gets tricky because some parents will only want to allow a certain amount of information pass, some want more. So obviously we have to gear it towards what the clients want. But it's super important in a kind of a family office operation like we're running.
And do you find then that brings out hidden disagreements? I didn't know you wanted that. I wouldn't have never thought of that. Well, I don't want that. What do you mean you're going to do it that way? We're not going to do that.
So it's how you set it up. But a lot of time, it's not about. So we'll bring in the parents that we're managing currently, and we might be already managing the kids' accounts as well. But maybe they don't really understand the full picture of the parents' situation, and that's really common actually. And we set up the meeting as, hey, we're not talking about the specific investments right now. We're talking about we're going to share with parents X and Y, and they're going to share with the kids what's going on and where to find things. And they use us to have this family meeting, and we talk about what maybe their goals are on the flow, or talking about if they have charitable giving needs, or if there's things that they want to see their family legacy to be. So we kind of set the stage, and we were able to create this setting that we're able to help the family transition with ease instead of not necessarily bickering, because every family has their moments, right? but we break it into segments, and then we talk to the parents ahead of time and saying, okay, what do you want to share? So we kind of prepare ahead of time, and then we go from there, and then we break into it. So yes, I think it's super critical, especially let's say, you're selling your company and then all of a sudden you have a nice estate. Your kids might know that you might be worth something, but they have no idea at the end of the day necessarily what that impact is. And maybe they don't want their kids to ever know, because they want them to be,
self-reliant and not just waiting for the big thing to fall. Yeah,
exactly. So
I just think it's amazing to me how little we want to talk about death at all in this society, or disasters, or anything negative. Everything is just supposed to be happy talk. And there is a fear, there is a danger to that, as you're pointing out today here.
Yeah.
All right. It looks like we are nearing the end.
Wait, before you go.
Tish, I was setting you up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, finish.
This is welcome to my day.
This goes on a lot.
Tish, would you mind telling our listeners how they can find us, reach us, see us, etc.?
Okay. So I want to first say thank you to everyone listening, because we have had, in a short period of time, once we've reached, we're now on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbeam, and these are all different places that you can hear our podcast. You can listen to it live if you go to the website. But I just want to say is we have had over 1,000 downloads. So thank you, everyone listening. In a short period of time.
Here, we got to play some applause or something. So let me see if I can find some applause here. Where's the applause thing here?
Come on, producer.
Come on.
A little slow there.
Yay.
They're excited to hear that.
Yes,
They're
yes.
excited.
But what we want to know is, what do you want to hear next? What's important to you? And we're here for you. So we take time out of our day to really make sure that you guys are listening to topics that people come into our office and we talk about. So that's really what we want to make sure, that it's something that you guys can relate to. You guys get some good feedback, you get some good tips. We have some good guests in here that you guys can get some great information with, that we work with closely. And I want to make sure you go to our iTunes website and we have a new picture. We have our new logo, so it's not this logo anymore, but it's the Zandbergen Report.
Well, send us a copy. Let's get it up on here.
Yeah, I love it. And then, but we're Wealth Strategies and Investment Wisdom, and we're here for you guys. So please like us. Tweet us, share it. We can't do anything unless you like us. So we appreciate your support.
And if you want to reach either of us, you can reach us. Our website is www.optivestinc.com. That's OPTIV as in Victor, ESTINC.com. And you can reach Letitia at Letitia@optivestinc.com, LETITIA at optivestinc.com, or Bart at optivestinc.com, or 949-363-8686. Thanks, everyone who tuned in today. We look forward to being in studio again next week. Have a great week. Cheers.
Thank you.
Tune in next week for the latest edition of the Zandbergen Report, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Catch up on our recent shows by visiting bartzandbergen.podbean.com. The Zandbergen Report is also available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Interested in being a featured guest on our show, or have a question you'd like to hear us answer? Email podcast@bartzandbergen.com. Bart A. Zandbergen, CFP, and Letitia Burbaum, AIF, are registered investment advisors with Optivest Inc. and registered representatives with Gramercy Securities Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered by Optivest Inc. under SEC registration.
When you use the Premier Rewards Gold Card from American Express, the rewards points can keep on multiplying. Buy 3 with triple points on airfare. Buy 2 with double points on gas and groceries. And a single point for pretty much every other dollar you spend on the card. Then, start choosing from over 1 million rewards to redeem all those points. Apply today and the annual fee for the first year is on us. Call 1-800-AXP-GOLD or visit axpgold.com. The annual fee for the card is $175. See terms, conditions, and restrictions at axpgold.com.
I've tried. I've never hired an attorney to do that, nor do I know anybody that's hired an attorney to do that.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lori London. The Supreme Court is welcoming Brett Kavanaugh for his first day on the bench. NPR's Carrie Johnson reports the High Court heard arguments in 2 cases today.
Chief Justice John Roberts says he wishes Brett Kavanaugh a long and happy career on the Supreme Court. Kavanaugh's already made his presence known. He asked more than 10 questions during the oral arguments. He exchanged warm greetings with Justice Elena Kagan, who once hired him to teach at Harvard Law School. And after about 2 hours, he shook Kagan's hand as he left the bench. Kavanaugh's wife Ashley and his 2 daughters attended the morning arguments. So did retired Justice Anthony Kennedy, whom Kavanaugh replaced on the High Court. Dozens of people protested outside the Supreme Court, citing sexual assault allegations Kavanaugh has denied. But inside the chamber, there were no disruptions. Carrie Johnson, NPR News, Washington.
On the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, more than 10,000 rescue workers are scouring the expansive debris for victims ahead of Thursday's government-imposed deadline to stop. They're focusing on 3 areas obliterated by soil liquefaction following an earthquake that triggered a massive tsunami less than 2 weeks ago. The death toll has surpassed 2,000. But as NPR's Lauren Freyer reports from the city of Palu near the epicenter, many more people are still missing.
Up to 5,000 people are still unaccounted for. Workers are rushing to recover bodies before Thursday, when the government plans to call off the search. It's put new restrictions on foreign aid workers, ordering them out of the quake zone unless they're partnering with local groups. Indonesia does not want to be seen as relying on foreign aid.
The decision to end the search has angered some relatives of those still missing. The National Disaster Mitigation Agency there cites concern about the spread of disease. Google is shutting down the consumer version of its failed social network, Google Plus, after announcing Monday that the private profile data of at least 500,000 users may have been exposed to hundreds of external developers. NPR's Jasmine Guards reports the move was prompted by a Wall Street Journal report.
User data was exposed from 2015 to March 2018. Also troubling, according to the report, is that Google decided not to inform the public. But for many, what was really surprising wasn't the privacy breach or that Google decided to shut Google Plus down. It was that Google Plus even still exists. The social media platform failed to garner popularity and was widely considered one of the company's biggest failures. Jasmine Garst, NPR News, New York.
On Wall Street, the Dow is up 10 points. You're listening to NPR News. The U.S. Forest Service is proposing changes to sage grouse protections that would make it easier to develop on vast swaths of land where the chicken-like bird lives. Wyoming Public Radio's Cooper McKim has more.
There are several tiers of sage-grouse protections in the Forest Service's current plans. These were initially approved in 2015 to help prevent the bird from becoming endangered. The proposed changes would do away with the highest tier and remove state and federal cooperation required to approve development in special cases, especially relating to energy. Michael Sauls with the Center for Biological Diversity. He says energy operations do not mix well with sage-grouse.
It's going to increase the likelihood that they ultimately are going to be on the road to extinction.
The Forest Service is giving the public 90 days to comment. The Interior Department is also looking at changing its sage-grouse plans with an eye towards promoting energy development. For NPR News, I'm Cooper McKim in Laramie.
A Dutch appeals court has upheld a landmark ruling that ordered the Dutch government to cut the country's greenhouse gas emissions by at least 25% by 2020 from benchmark 1990 levels. The original June 2015 ruling came in a case brought by the Environmental